Today I want to begin not with advice, but with a confrontation. A confrontation with a belief many people casually accept, yet rarely examine in its full complexity. That belief is this: remarriage in one's 50s is simply a second chance at love. It sounds reasonable, even comforting. But beneath that comforting narrative lies something far more intricate, something psychological, social, and deeply existential. This is not merely a conversation about marriage. It is a conversation about how human desire reshapes reality, especially in the later stages of life. Because for men in their 50s, remarriage is rarely just a romantic decision. More often, it is a negotiation with loneliness, with time, and with the quiet anxiety of what lies ahead. Many people interpret remarriage at this stage in simple terms. He doesn't want to be alone. He's looking for a companion. Maybe he's finally found real love. But when we step beyond assumptions and examine real-life patterns through counseling, behavioral studies, and relational psychology, we encounter a very different structure. Marriage in your 20s or 30s is fundamentally future-oriented. It is a project. Two individuals come together not as completed beings, but as evolving ones. They build careers, families, identities. But marriage in your 50s is not a project of construction. It is a collision of completed worlds. Two lives, already shaped by decades of experience, do not merge, they intersect. And what comes with that intersection is not just affection, but accumulation. Accumulated history, accumulated wounds, accumulated responsibilities, and perhaps most critically, accumulated expectations. Consider what already exists at this stage of life. There are memories of past relationships. There may be children, often grown, but never irrelevant. There are established financial systems. There is social identity, reputation, and status. And beneath all of this lies something even more powerful: an awareness of aging, a subtle but persistent recognition that time is no longer infinite. When all of these elements converge within a single relationship, what emerges is not a simple bond between two individuals. It becomes a multi-layered system, one in which psychology, family dynamics, and economic realities operate simultaneously. If this system is not understood, many enter remarriage, believing they are choosing happiness, only to find themselves entangled in deeper conflict than before. Now we arrive at a critical turning point. If we ask why many men in their 50s choose to remarry, the answer is rarely as simple as love. Psychological research consistently points to deeper drivers: loneliness, fear of aging, emotional dependency, the need for validation. These forces do not operate on the surface. They operate beneath awareness. And as they intensify, they begin to distort perception itself. A man may believe he is choosing a partner, but in reality, he may be choosing a projection. This is where philosophy offers a striking insight. There is an idea found in ancient Tibetan thought. Human beings do not see reality as it is. They see reality as shaped by their desires. This is not merely spiritual, it is psychological. Modern psychology describes this through concepts like projection and wishful perception. We do not encounter people as they are. We encounter them as we need them to be, especially in moments of emotional vulnerability. And this is precisely why remarriage after 50 carries unique risks, because this stage of life often intensifies vulnerability. When loneliness becomes acute, when the fear of aging becomes real, when the desire for connection becomes urgent, judgment becomes compromised. People begin interpreting others, not through observation, but through emotional necessity. From that point forward, decisions are no longer grounded in reality. They are grounded in relief. There is also an important distinction worth noting. Research suggests that women in their 50s often approach remarriage with greater practical realism, evaluating compatibility, lifestyle, stability, and long-term sustainability. Men, by contrast, tend to show stronger emotional acceleration. They invest quickly. They attach quickly. And often they decide before fully understanding the structure they are entering. This leads to three recurring risk patterns. First, committing before truly understanding the other person. Second, entering marriage without clearly defined financial structures. Third, underestimating the influence of children and extended family systems. These are not abstract concerns. They are among the most common sources of conflict in later life remarriages. So let me be clear. This is not an argument against remarriage. It is an argument against unconscious remarriage, because the most dangerous decisions in life are not made when we are calm and clear. They are made when desire is strongest, when the need to escape discomfort overrides the ability to perceive reality. Wisdom does not begin by suppressing desire. It begins by understanding it, by asking, why do I want this? What is truly driving this decision? Is it love or is it fear? Is it connection or is it escape? Because the answer to these questions shapes the entire trajectory of your later life. And that is where this conversation truly begins, not with marriage, but with self-awareness. Now, let us go deeper. If desire can distort perception, if loneliness can reshape reality, then how does that distortion actually appear in real relationship? Not in theory, but in behavior. Because risk rarely announces itself at the beginning. It does not appear as danger. It appears as connection, as chemistry, as destiny. But very often, what feels like destiny is simply psychology. Let us examine several recurring patterns. First, emotional acceleration, a relationship that intensifies too quickly. You may hear, I can't live without you. You're the one I've been waiting for. This feels like fate. At first, this feels powerful, even meaningful. But psychologically, rapid emotional escalation is often not stable attachment. It is emotional dependency. These relationships begin with intensity, but over time, intensity transforms. Affection becomes expectation. Closeness becomes control. Love becomes possession. Second, the identity of the victim. In some relationships, one person consistently frames themselves as wronged, a difficult ex, an unfair world, a painful past. Pain itself is not the issue. The issue is identity. There is a fundamental difference between someone who has experienced pain and someone who defines themselves through it. If every past conflict is someone else's fault, the pattern is not in the past. It is ongoing, and it will repeat. Third, economic dependency. By the age of 50, financial systems are already established. Assets exist. Responsibilities exist. Expectations, spoken or unspoken, exist. In some cases, relationships begin to revolve less around emotional connection and more around financial stability. When discussions of money appear early, before trust is established, the structure of the relationship may already be shifting from partnership to negotiation. Fourth, family dominance. Remarriage does not unite two individuals. It connects two systems, two histories, two family structures. Sometimes one system dominates. Decisions are influenced or controlled by external family members. And gradually, the relationship itself becomes secondary. What remains is a network of competing loyalties. Fifth, persistent jealousy. Unlike first marriages, the past does not disappear. There are children, former partners, long-standing connections. For some, these realities become sources of insecurity, and insecurity becomes control, monitoring, suspicion, emotional pressure. Over time, connection turns into surveillance. Trust turns into tension. Now here is the key insight. None of these patterns necessarily indicate a bad person. The issue is not morality. It is structural compatibility. Certain personality patterns combined with the complexity of remarriage significantly increase the probability of conflict. And if these structures are not recognized early, they do not disappear. They intensify. So what is the alternative? If emotion cannot be fully trusted, if perception can be distorted, what becomes the foundation of a wise decision? We return to a timeless insight. The stronger the attachment, the weaker the clarity. In other words, the more you need something, the less clearly you see it, which leads to the most important question. Not, is this the right person? But why do I want this relationship? Is it genuine connection? or an escape from loneliness, fear, and uncertainty. Until that question is answered honestly, every judgment remains incomplete. Here, we must confront a deeper conclusion. Remarriage after 50 is not fundamentally about love. It is about structure. It is about how desire, history, family systems, and economic realities converge into a single decision. At this stage of life, a relationship is not built from nothing. It is assembled from everything that already exists, which means you are not just choosing a person. You are choosing an entire system. And if that system is not understood, what appears to be a new beginning may quietly become a continuation of old patterns, or the beginning of deeper conflict. So before moving forward, pause, not to hesitate, but to observe. Ask yourself, what is truly driving this decision? Because the answer will shape not only the relationship, but the entire trajectory of your later life. In our next discussion, we will explore one of the most complex dimensions of remarriage: family structure conflict. What happens when two family systems collide? Why does step-family dynamics create such intense emotional tension? And why do so many remarriages struggle not because of the couple, but because of the invisible forces surrounding them? If you find value in exploring relationships beyond surface advice, beyond cliches, then I invite you to continue this journey. Subscribe, like, and share so that more people can begin to understand not only relationships, but themselves more clearly. I'll see you in the next lecture.